Hello, everybody, once again. This is Dave Denton, Independent Outsider. One of the people that I live stream with and I'm on different channels with, her name is Sarah Stevens. She asked a question about why on earth do postal workers get a National Day of Observance when G.H.W. Bush passed away. And the general consensus was he wasn't the nicest of guys, which I completely agree with. He was a warmonger. He's a director of the CIA, for God's sakes. Ton of scandals and things and nastiness. However, the United States Postal Service negotiated a National Day of Observance for national days of mourning, and most of the time it involves the death of a president. I don't think there has ever been another instance. I could have seen September 11th, 2002 and beyond to be one of those, but they're not going to do it every single year. So the only instance in which I've ever seen it is the death of a president, President Ford. He died December 26th of 2008, I think. It was a while ago, but G.W. Bush declared that one. But here is the general MOU for the National Day of Observance. So parties agree that the following procedures will apply to affected employees if the Postmaster General or designee determines that the Postal Service will participate in a National Day of Observation, National Day of Mourning, subsequent to the declaration of the National Day of Observance having been made by executive order of the President of the United States, which typically happens when a president dies. Although with all the hoopla, I'm almost surprised that McCain didn't get one. But full-time employees whose basic work week includes the National Day of Observance as a scheduled work day, but are not directed to report for work will be granted administrative leave for that day. Full-time employees whose basic work week includes the National Day of Observance as a scheduled work day and who perform service will be granted a day of admin leave at a future date, not to exceed 8 hours. What has happened a couple of times is that presidents will die during the holiday season, and they're not going to give you a National Day of Observance during the holiday season. It's just not going to happen. So what they will do is they will allow you to use that National Day of Observance within 6 months of them giving it to you, which typically happens in January. So that's why we get a National Day of Observance. It's not because the president was a swell guy. As a matter of fact, it's probably the only thing that G.H.W. Bush ever gave me was a National Day of Observance when he died. So that's pretty much the reason we negotiate for things like that. We get little perks. It's kind of a pain because I consider it a free day and people take it a little too far. The supervisors don't know when the day of observance is going to be. They go back and forth. They were telling people that tomorrow everybody was going to be off, then they weren't, then they were, then they weren't. They're not going to be off because they're not going to do that during a holiday. And then everyone has questions about it. And by the way, if you're pending termination, you don't get it. If you're on comp, you don't get it. If you're not actually working during the time of the National Day of Observance or National Day of Mourning, you're not going to get it. So you can't be out on workman's comp and get that National Day of Observance. It's only if you work, which makes perfect sense. So, Sarah, there's your answer. That's why. I figured I'd answer that question. It's a negotiated little perk when a president passes away and when there's a National Day of Mourning for federal employees. And for postal employees, I don't know if it's all federal employees, but I know for postal employees, past 3 times, we've gotten a National Day of Mourning. So that's why. I hope this has been informative for the one person that's showing up. It's pretty late, so, but I just wanted to put that out there. I saw a couple of questions about it, and that's the reason. Unions can be useful for little extra things. So, everybody, thanks for coming in, one person, and hopefully people will see this, and hopefully it's a little informative. And if you're a federal employee and you don't get the National Day of Observance, ask why, especially if your office is closed. For us, DAOs are closed. I believe they're closed tomorrow. You may not get mail service tomorrow. I'll be honest with you, I'm not sure because they were back and forth on it. The last time this happened was when President Ford died right around the holidays, but it was the day after Christmas. But they still waited because there was still holiday delivery to be made. So actually, it was before 2000. It had to be 2004. It really did, because I was still working as a letter carrier. So I was out of the plant. So it had to be earlier. But the point being, they're not going to tender operations with a National Day of Observance or National Day of Mourning. So I would actually be surprised if they didn't deliver tomorrow. But on the other hand, knowing the Postal Service, I wouldn't be surprised. So if you don't get mail, that's why, because you're getting a National Day of Observance. Everybody, thanks. Hope this is informative for those of you who watch later, and Independent Outsider out.